Good morning and welcome. Welcome to my live stream, Fight CPS, with your host, Bob Pace. Yes, you heard me right. We're here to fight CPS. Sadly, what I call the Child Protection System, CPS, there are many rogue entities out there. It's a government entity that was created in 1962, by Congress that mandated that social service create a group of social workers that would protect our children from neglect and abuse. Why they picked 62, I don't know. The welfare of our children in the United States has been going on for over 400 years. The child protection system is divided into three parts in history. From early 1600s, the time of colonization of North America by the Europeans, long after the Vikings had explored North America. And the first immigrants, who were the Native American Indians, the indigenous people that the colonists met. Children were being abused. There's a case of a story in the early 1600s about a shopkeeper abusing his children. Anytime abuse did take place or cruelty to children, and something was always done about it, was never ignored. But there never was an organization until 1875. So part one history is from 1600 to 1875. There was a case about a lady in the early 1800s, but in 1875, it's the society that ended up stepping in to take care of our children. The high society, very wealthy, affluent group, were trying to attempt to protect our children. Also, 1875 marks the pivoting point of the Native American Indians that were put on reservations, and they were trying to wipe them out. They've been trying so for the last 100 years, 200 years, I should say, really. The Indians were proud people of North America. They'd come, via the land bridge over by Alaska. They came from Asia, settled in Alaska, settled in Canada as the First Nation people, and then migrated down south to eventually they migrated through Mexico and down into South America. They branched out, and some theories say that they also sailed across the Pacific, voyages that were demonstrated by the Kon-Tiki. They also said people came way of Africa from the Raw expedition. So migration of people from Africa has been happening for thousands and thousands of years. And when you have people come, you always have problems. We're a society based on laws. In the United States, we wanted to be a democratic society. We didn't want to be ruled by a king or anything, but we have a government. And right now, the government's going through a lot of changes because we have something that was created by the new president in January called the Department of Government Efficiency. Now, that is a federal government agency with a budget. Its purpose is to investigate government corruption, people that are getting paid for not working, people that are dead and getting paid for benefits. It goes on and on and on. Well, the Child Protection Agency didn't really happen in the second part of history is from 1875 to 1962. And that's where you have those societies, because we had the sweatshops of the early 30s and stuff, and children were being abused. But doctors were finding out that too many children were brought in and they had bruises and wounds and stuff that was definitely from signs of parents beating up their children. That's what prompted it. And, you know, professionals, the first kinds of reporters, are mandated reporters, and they're supposed to report any abuse, not only doctors, but educators and people like the public service, like firemen or policemen, etc. So in 62, they created it, and it wasn't until 1974 that there were laws put down that would enforce it. And then in 1978, we had the Indian Child Welfare Act that was passed that protected our Indian children. What was happening was we were putting the tribes on reservations, but we're rounding up the children and putting them in Indian schools. A lot of the children were orphanage because the Indians were slaughtered. I mean, somehow they got the satisfaction of going around slaughtering people innocently in tents and teepees, and it was terrible. You know, they're using modernized weapons and stuff. And the reason I'm talking a little about this is that I'm trying to show you the way that what's happened today, we're still hurting our children. There's still rogue individuals out there that are not protecting families, not doing reunification. Not only that, they're taking our children away that should never have been taken away. Now, I know most of you, that's over 1,800 people or more. I've talked to the last 20, since October 23, for the last 19 months. And I've been doing this for twice a day. I'm on from Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. and then on the weekends at 8 a.m., Saturday and Sunday, I'm on. And in the evening, my second show is every night of the week at 7 p.m. It may vary, and I'll let you know if the times are different, but I never miss a day yet. I've done twice a show since October of 2023. Day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year, even on holidays. So I'm glad you're here because I want to help you. I've been a victim of CPS. I'm not an attorney. I'm a loving father and a husband and a compassionate man that's very well educated and learned a lot about the child protection system, CPS. When I got involved, 15 years ago in 2010, I had no idea what kind of agency this was, how corrupt they were. I had no idea. I didn't know what CPS was. No one does. It's one of those life skills that you pick up the hard way. Now, I'd love to do a live stream on life skills. There's so many life skills out there that can help you with. It's sad where people have to learn the hard way. I mean, it's tough. It hurts. I lost a child. I lost my home. My family's been pretty much in bad shape. I still have two of my children living with me. I helped raise 6 children. Luckily, the 3 older children had families of their own and off their own before CPS got involved. Now, I know it's early on Saturday morning. A lot of you like to rest or come back in. My days start at 4 o'clock. I'm broadcasting this from the west coast of California. And by the way, the times I gave you this a little earlier were all Pacific Standard Time on the west coast of California. I'm in Surf City, USA, 3 blocks from the ocean. And I too am a victim, very much a victim. See, I've lost so much. I lost my Fairville home that took me 45 years to get. I lost my youngest daughter through retaliation from a social worker that committed perjury in court. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. It is hard talking about something that really hurts you, and I know how you guys would feel. Now, I've talked to over 23 countries, including the US, and that's a lot of countries. I mean, they range from all over the place, from Indonesia to Bangladesh to India to the Middle East to Libya and Saudi Arabia, then up to Africa to Liberia, over to Sudan, to the Republic of Congo, who is my newest country, then over to Rwanda, then down to Mozambique, and then down to South Africa. Now, in South Africa, there's a very special lady called Laika, who is who they call is African. I mean, they speak a language. It's a Dutch language. It's anyway. She is called in. Not only do people text me, but they call me in from around the world. We go up to Europe, and it's England, Scotland, and Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then across to the pond to North America, it's Canada, and then the United States. And I've talked to all 50 in the States. And I've also talked to the District of Columbia. Then south the border to Mexico, then down to South America, to Grenada on the East Coast, north of Brazil. Then across the South Pacific to New Zealand and the land down under called Australia. These people are human beings that really care about families. That's the one thing that all of you that have called in are that you're caring and you're hurting for your family. Like me, my children were taken when they weren't in danger. CPS was definitely corrupt in Orange County, California. Even this past week and a week ago, a family was interrupted by the CPS people who accused them of medical neglect. And they were trying to do something about their child. This child had abdominal pains. She was only 4 years old at the time. And these parents are up in Santa Clarita, California. Beautiful people. And they were talking to me last week and a couple times this week. And they said when the child experienced these discomfort or pains, they took the child to the pediatrician, who informed them they should go to the emergency room of the hospital. So they went to the closest hospital. Maybe the hospital they went to wasn't a really top-notch hospital. You don't know unless you check things out ahead of time. But they diagnosed that child with appendicitis. They said for sure the child has appendicitis. Well, I don't know what kind of doctors they are, where they are. The pain was on the left side. Your appendix is on the right side. They didn't do x-rays. They did that later. All they did was a sonogram, and they thought the appendix had swelled up. I don't think it was ruptured, but they wanted a second. The parents wanted to say, well, before we remove the appendix, which is a vital organ for immunities in children growing up, they wanted to get a second opinion. So they went to a second hospital they felt was a little bit better. And that hospital, by the way, concurred that there was appendicitis. So the parents went along with all this. But the problem was the social worker working in there, and a lot of lately, this is medical trafficking, what they're doing now. That's my rule number 3. They were saying the parents were neglect because they refused. The parents not refused. The appendix was removed. But guess what happened? The child still complained of the pains. So they took it in a third time to the emergency room. And they did an x-ray. And what they found was gallstones in the gallbladder. Her ducts were being blocked. And that was causing the pain on the left side, not the right side. So these parents are faced with a malpractice lawsuit of unnecessary removing and misdiagnosed that she didn't have appendix that needed removed, but she had gallstones that need to be addressed. So the gallstones were small enough, the doctor felt they eventually would pass out. It's very uncomfortable when they pass through the urinary tract, but they're small enough. I don't know if they use chemicals or something designed, but anyway, after they figured it out and does certain medications, she is better. She's recovering better. But meanwhile, the parents are faced with a horrible, horrible invasion of their rights by the child protection system in LA County, California, which is called the Department of Children and Family Services. They too are corrupt. So anybody listening to what you want in there, you got to be careful because you never know who you're going to run into. I know that's starting off the show with a very negative thing. Now, the parents had a court date. I told them that they needed an attorney and they want to get Vincent Davis, but it's going to take some time. So they asked for a continuance, but the judge is so corrupt, he only gave them 1 day. Their court-appointed attorney they received the night before didn't hardly do anything. They don't. Court-appointed attorneys are a waste of time. The child protection system hopes you take a court-appointed attorney. In fact, they hope that your spouse has a court-appointed attorney and that your children have court-appointed attorneys. Everybody that's involved in the case will get a court-appointed attorney. The negative or the drawback, these attorneys aren't trained in the areas of juvenile law, family law, or dependency law. They're criminal lawyers starting out. And one person tonight in Texas said this attorney had over 100 cases. Now, I was thinking an average of 30 cases, but 100 cases. How can someone represent somebody with 100 cases? So these parents now go to court, and now they didn't take the child, luckily. They really don't have any grounds to take the child, and the child's not in danger. The parents have complied, and they're going to fight the case, and they'll win their case. They'll win their case. Because it's really false accusations. And that's the problem. Last year, over 4.2 million accusations were called in by first by what I call um, professional reporters. They're mandated by law, doctors and nurses and school personnel and police and firemen to report any suspect. So 4.2 million were called in last year just by that group alone. The other people are the lay people, the ones that are like your doctor, your neighbors, your family, your friends, your acquaintances, the guy at the store. Those are lay people. Now, these professional mandated reporters who are mandated by law, that's a lot of people that they called in, 4.2 million in the United States. They found that 75% of them are reporting neglect. The other 25% are abuse. Anyway, of these two groups, they found that 2 million, after they did a preliminary investigation, were not even investigated. It was wrong. It was wrong. Sometimes the CPS will call if they have the phone number. But a lot of them come knocking at the door, and that's where you guys make the mistake, like I did, by opening the door and letting them in. That is a no-no. Do not open your door to anybody. The only time you want to open your door is to people you know, family and friends, and you can have a certain knock at the door. But too many people have been killed opening the door. Your life is only once. So I really encourage you not to open the door. If someone badly wants to get a hold of you, there's something called the mail. The United States has a mail service, so they can mail a letter or form if they're worried about investigating. Now, if there's a threat of danger, meaning if there is violence taking place and the children in the background can be heard, they're going to break in. The police and the social worker will break in. But unless it's all quiet and you don't answer the door and you turn down all your sounds in the house, and maybe go the right part of the house, they're going to try to walk around to see if there's a way they can get in. But they have to have a court warrant to come in. Now, a court warrant specifically tells what they can do. They can enter the home, or they can talk to the parents or the children, or they can take the children. But it has to be a really legitimate court warrant. It's a piece of paper that's signed by a judge, a wet signature, that's embossed by a hand stamp that the clerk uses to raise the piece of paper up where the signature is. So when you rub your fingernail across it, you feel ridges. That's a legitimate warrant. It's got to have the date that falls on a normal work date, not a weekend or a holiday during the week, because that is bogus, because judges don't work on holidays and they don't work on the weekends. So what happens is that CPS is notorious for using false warrants just so they can egress their way into the home. Now, these are the corrupt child protection entities. I'm not saying all of CPS is corrupt, but I don't know statistically how much they are. But I only know is that over 1,800 people have talked to me, and they all have something in common. I do too. We're low income at that time. Now, I was very, very wealthy up until I lost my job at age 60. And lose my job had nothing to do with CPS, but unfortunately, it had to do with the state of California, who was going through a very troubled time financially. And I had a lot of contract work to do, construction work in Caltrans, Department of Transportation, California. And they awarded me these public funds but they needed to hold back on starting those jobs and wrote me IOUs for public jobs I'm supposed to perform. Now I can't, my owner could not afford to keep me or my people staff. So we had to close the door on general contracting. Um, it's hard to relive your past. It's hard to talk about it. Um, hmm. With my life, I mean, this reporting is so bad because even the professionals can't get it right. 2 million out of 4.2. There was no need to investigate. Now, this mail or leave a business card on your front door. Or how about this? Call on the phone. Or better yet, we have the internet, can send an email. That's how most people that, you know, want to get a hold of you. By opening the door, it's like Pandora's box. You're letting evil because they're going to come in and look at your home and things you may not know, they may look at and say, oh, that is neglect. Oh, that's abuse. I'm here to help you all because you need to know about CPS. It is corrupt. Not all CPS entities are, but many are. And the ones that, wow, are that you have to face. And I think back to when I had to face it. Now, for 5 years in my case, from 2010 to 2015, had numerous complaints lodged by who I didn't think was my in-laws, my wife's mother, father, her three sisters, her brother would call in once a week. When I lost my job, they were determined to undermine my family. They never liked me marrying their daughter. They didn't really like us, but they loved our children. We had very beautiful children, very precocious children. You um, at the time all this was going on, my children were 4 years of age as my youngest at that time in 2010. And my youngest daughter was 8. Um, and my middle son was 9. Wait a second, I got my daughter's age wrong, I think. 9 years of age. And sometimes it's hard when you try to remember the age. I had one born in 1999. And then 10 years later, he'd be 10. He was 10. He was 10 years old. 10 years old he was. My daughter is 8. And my youngest son was 4. 4, 8, and 10. And you sometimes wish you could have your whole life back again. You wish you could. Now, this live stream is open to you all. There are things you can interact with. You can share a story or ask a question. And some of you text me in messages, and I'd like you to use the following format. Your text messages should be a comment or a question, and it should pertain to CPS. We're here to talk about child protection system. Please state your first name, your city or county, your state, and if you're outside the United States, your country. Also, please tell me about your CPS case from beginning to where you're at. This is the first time that you text a message in there, so I get an idea. A lot of you, I remember where you're from. A lot of you, I do remember where you're from. Now, a second way to interact is to be on my live stream as a guest. I can take 9 of you. The advantage of this is 9 of you can ask questions and help one another and help the audience answer questions. I think it's great when we have a guest on the show. I think that's really super. And then on top of that, when you are a guest, all you have to do is pick one of my 14 live streams and write an email to my show producer, Grace, at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And you just tell her I want to be on Bob's Friday night show or Bob's Sunday morning show or Bob's Wednesday night show. You just pick one of the 7 days of the week and either night or morning. That's all. And she will send you a link to what I use as SteamYard. That's the application I own. And I have 2 YouTube rooms. One is called Fight CPS with Bob Pace. The other one is Fight CPS and Stop Taking Our Children. They're found on Facebook, and that's how you can follow the link. But you can find it by looking up YouTube too. Now there's recordings of my shows, so make sure it's live. And she'll go over the rules, such as no smoking or eating on the show, no profanity, and no use of names of judges, social workers, or people like children. And she'll help you with your video and audio. She's really good. I appreciate my producer, Grace. Now, my phone number is the third way. And it's up on the screen. That means you can call me on my phone. I have an office phone number, 626-698-0990. And I'm here to take your call. Hello, Christina Reynoso. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for stopping by. It's so nice for my regular family people that come in here. People like Margaret King, like NYP, or Cruel, who is Felicia. You know, Betty Joe from Montana. People that I speak of are in here all the time, twice a day. Some of them hired my attorney, Vincent W. Davis. His picture is in the upper right-hand corner of my screen. And he is the attorney that's responsible for the show. He gives something a lot back to parents out there. He sometimes gives out too much back. He spreads himself thin. And he is always trying to help, and he doesn't sometimes say how to say no. He's a very kind man, but he's a pit bull of attorney. I know how he performed because I hired him. And if you want an outstanding attorney, which you really need because CPS is so corrupt, he's the man. And you can call him right now, 888-888-6582. That's the law office. And when you call him, you can you'll talk to reception. Make sure you tell reception that Bob Pace sent you. And when you speak to Mr. Davis, make sure that you say Bob Pace sent you. And he'll talk to you. I have ways you can talk to him for free. By calling in or being on my show as a guest, you qualify for a free 15-minute private Zoom consultation with Mr. Davis. Free. All you have to do is talk, either as a guest or call in. Now, calling in has its limits because I can only talk to one person when you call in. I have to put the other person on hold. Um, I just looked at the time. We have about half an hour left of my show. And we have only a couple people that have come in. I know it's early, but it really helps when people talk or ask me questions or tell a story or ask me to talk about something. Now, I talked about a free 15-minute with Vincent Davis. Another way you can talk to him really inexpensively because he's a $500 an hour attorney. Right now, I have a special deal for a 30-minute private Zoom consultation with attorney Vincent Davis for $60. All you have to do is go to the website candidly.com/apptsvwd/Bob Pace. And you take your credit card, book a time that's available. He has all his times displayed on the calendar. So he'll charge your card $60, but you have a 30-minute private Zoom meeting with him. Now, I've heard of some reports of a $300 for an hour consultation. You can go to his website, his main website. Well, that's one. I'm sorry, I get the wrong website up there. We'll talk about that one in a second. We can go this one here, VincentWDavis.com, VincentWDavis.com. There he'll post his site about getting books, about his office, his other legal matters, and so forth. Now, there's another website he uses that has all his deals. It's called the Stand.store. Stand.store. And / attorney VWD. And that's good because there's a guide right now, a grandparent's guide called, it's a resource that can get you step by step of how to adopt your grandchildren. Grandchildren just as grandparents are just as important as parents. Anyway, they have this guide that he's come out with. It's $9.99, but if you use my discount code of PACE50, PACE, all capital letters 50, you can get that for half off. Half off. So that is a good resource there. There'll also be deals. There's a $2,000 deal for 4 hours of coaching. So go to that website. Now, I do want to tell you about another very important website. A lot of you are at your rope's end with CPS. You may have tried to go into the mayor of your city or the governor of your state. You may have tried to go to Washington, D.C., to the civil rights coordinator or the ombudsperson. And yes, at the state level and the federal level. But right now, I'm giving you that entity that I talked about in the early part of my show, the Department of Government Efficiency, doge.gov. It has two phone numbers. Those both 202 are White House numbers, 456-111, 202-456-1414. So you can call them because they're investigating social service right now. And if they are corrupt, they need to be investigated. They need to be investigated. And I've developed over my shows 5 rules that would have helped me, that would not have lost my daughter. You see, when I lost my child, and that's hard, my youngest daughter, she was born in 2005. Very beautiful, beautiful girl. And in 2014, she helped me with my parents. My dad and mom were dying, and I was trying to move their belongings out of their home because they wanted to give it to families and friends. It was a really sad, tragic time. And it's hard. It's hard, but she helped me. She lifted things that were heavy. She told me that how much she loved me as her father and how special I was to her. The last time I held her in my arms, it was May 2nd of 2015. That happens to be the birth date of my firstborn daughter, who's my second oldest daughter. I have 3 daughters and 3 sons. The oldest son is in his 40s. The second son now is 25. The time he was taken into CPS, he was 15. He was 10 years old when I started getting involved. But my 3 daughters and 3 sons are beautiful people. They're brought in the world with expectations, and I tried to, as a father, be a great provider. In 2010, I had a great job. But I lost it only because of the way the system works sometimes, works against you. And at age 60, it's hard. I'm 75 now. I'm a dinosaur. CPS is ruined, so I can't get hired. I've lost my home because I had to quick sell it to hire Vincent Davis, who's my attorney. And the social worker who was caught committing perjury on the stand retaliated and said to us parents, "You never see your daughter again." And she instructed our daughter, who was very young at the time. Oh my goodness gracious, she was young. She was 12 years old. She emancipated from her parents, means divorce your mom, your dad, her grandparents, her siblings, her brothers and her sisters, her cousins and aunts and uncles. She was told to change her name, and she changed it. And her name was changed, and so she also was told to seal her birth certificate and get a new birth certificate and put her adopted foster parents as the mother and father of her. She got a second social security card and was double dipping from my retirement funds. You see, when you have children late in life, the Social Security will pay additional money for you taking care of your children. So she's already collecting $1,000 a month. So she got a second card. Now she's collecting 2,000. And by the way, that money wasn't going to her. It was to the very wealthy foster care people that didn't need the money, but were pocketing the money. My money that I had worked. I've worked over 60 years in my life. And every paycheck, they would take out money for Social Security. And they give it back to you later in life, and they don't give it back to you all at once. They give it back to you in dribbles, hoping that you would die, and they get to keep the money. That's how sad it is. It makes my stomach sick right now. I just, wow. We have about 10 minutes left of my show time. I have 2 clocks I run. I have the clock that starts the show and the clock that ends the show. I also have the running time of the show, And it says we have about 10 minutes left. I'm hoping that some people will come in, my regulars or so forth, will ask me a question. Wow. I need to get a swallow and a little fizz. little fizz. I really care about you guys. And, these 5 rules I came up with, the rule to get an attorney, a real attorney. It's very important that you research them. Use my rule number 4, and which is researching the internet about CPS. You put in your city, your state, and if it's a small city, you put in your large city, small city followed by the large city, and then your state is city, city, your state. And if you're from outside of the country, you put in your country. Outside of the United States, you put in your country. Then you put the letters CPS, and it will show you all the stuff about CPS in that city, that state, or that country. And you want to further refine it. Let's say you want to find an attorney, my rule number 1. You put in juvenile law, family law, dependency law, attorney. That's all you do. And a bunch of them will pop up. And then you only have to do is pick 3 of them. Well, I got news for you. Vincent Davis is one of your 3. Now, he already meets the qualifications that I'm saying you need to find. The first question you ask potential attorneys is that, have you ever fought CPS? And won cases against CPS? And are you a juvenile law, family law, dependency law attorney? The answer is yes. You go to the next question. After the case is over, have you ever filed a civil lawsuit against CPS, either in state court or federal court, and won money back? And if the answer is yes, then you got yourself an attorney. Mr. Davis meets both those requirements. He's been practicing fighting CPS and gotten thousands of children back for 39 years. He's a trial attorney. He is well schooled in juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. He's also done civil lawsuits against the CPS and won millions of dollars both in state court and federal court. He's the real deal. But all you have to do now is find 2 more attorneys so you have a comparison. I always use 3 things for comparison when you're doing things about money. You need to also ask these 3 attorneys, including Mr. Davis, references. You need to get references. Get 3 references. Check them out. If they're all positive, then the next step is to have that meeting with that attorney, the chemistry, to see if there's chemistry between you and that attorney. And if there is, and you can afford the retainer. Now, Mr. Davis in LA County has approximately $5,000 retainer for LA County, and he's $500 an hour. So here, I've already got you one of your 3 candidates that you need to get. But if you have that attorney, it'll be great, because otherwise you're going to be like Alice in Wonderland in the rabbit hole, meeting the Chester cat, going from room to room, going nowhere. Going nowhere. They are corrupt. Fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. You need a professional, and that's where the attorney comes in. And the court-appointed attorneys are not going to do their job. Now, if you have to use one, that you have no resources, no way for money, then you got to make them work. You got to kick them in the seat of the pants and make them defend you. Now, they're not going to want to defend you. They're hired by CPS. They're controlled by CPS. And CPS has put so much emphasis, 100 cases on them, which is too much. Anyway, the real attorney will save your life. They'll go to bat. Because you're not going to have a plumber do open heart surgery. You yourself couldn't do open heart surgery. So that's why you have to get a professional. That's where the attorney comes in. Now, rule number 2 is document. You got to record video or audio or your notes. Because if you don't, you're going to be eaten alive because the case will go on for a year. If you don't have it written down, you won't remember it all. And the best way to keep all your documents in order is get yourself a 3-ring binder, very thick binder, and get yourself some subject tabs to put little subject notes there so you know where your documents are, so you can quickly find them. One important document that you have to create is called the incident time log. It's where you record all your incidents. And it's the incident time log. And you devote 3 lines on notebook paper to each incident. The incidents may be with the police, may be with the social workers, may be with the school or other parents or other children, whatever the case would be. Your first line is you either put the phone number if it's a phone call incident, or you put the location if it happened at your home or you're outside or somehow you went to their office. You shouldn't go to their office, by the way. You shouldn't talk to them unless your attorney's present. And then you put down the date and the time and the people involved. That's your first line. Now, the second line is you make a sentence, a summary, a short summary of what the incident's about. And then the third line is the outcome of the incident, how it ended. Again, it's a summary. You want to keep everything simple and short. And you skip a couple lines and you go to the next incident, skip a couple lines, go to the next incident, and you repeat. It's like a journal. It'll help you collect your notes and keep your thoughts. In there, you'll put all your certificates of family classes that you've taken, parenting classes, any programs you enrolled, the drug rehab program, all your drug testing results. You can also put in all your other things related to your case, your court papers, your social worker papers, etc. Anyway, that will become very important. Now, rule number 3 is you do not open the door and do not talk to social workers or to the police. They can get a hold of you by the mail or a phone call. And if you happen to meet them outside, just say, I'd love to answer your questions, but this is a criminal matter and I need to have my attorney present. It's my constitutional right that any legal proceedings, you don't have to say criminal, by the way, say it's a legal matter. Any legal matter, you're allowed to have your attorney present. And if one can't be present, you can't afford one, then one will be appointed to you. But the appointed ones are a disaster. And if they have a valid warrant, they can come in. If they're screaming, yelling, they can come in. That third way you don't want to do. You don't open the door. You don't want to have your family members open the door. That happens a lot too. Then there's the medical trafficking. That's where you take a child in to the urgent. There's a social worker ready to pounce on you, like this family this last weekend. There's medical trafficking that takes place. It's terrible. It's one of the latest scams. Or you have a baby and they want to take your baby because you tested positive for drugs. They have to look at how is the parents endangering the kids, or how could they continue to endanger the kids? Now, if they're using a whipping stick or some type of tool that inflicts welts, and pain and suffering to the child, yes, they will take your children. But lately, they've been taking them no matter what. They have been always seem to want to take them, and that's wrong. So that's rule number 3. Rule number 4 is I already talked about. Research the internet about your cases. Take time to look at it, 60, 80 hours, and use the format. Remember, it's the city, the state, and the country, and the letter CPS, and then your question. And rule 5 is the easiest one. Rule 5 is where you make copies of all your documents, your marriage license, your birth certificate, your child's birth certificate, your driver's license, the kids' grade reports, their medical records and their shot records, the medical cards, the copy of the medical cards, even car registration, things like that, because they'll ask you all those questions. Put that in an envelope and put copies. Don't worry about the original, put copies. If you have to produce original, then you can find it, but copies will suffice. And put that with your notebook. Put that with your notebook. So I very quickly went over my 5 rules, and they will help you. If I did those 5 rules, I would never have lost my family. I would never be involved in, would have been involved in CPS, but CPS was out of my life. But I do have to go because I've talked for over an hour. All right? I've talked for over an hour. And it's after 9 o'clock. It's actually 37 minutes after the hour. So I want to thank you all for listening. And God bless you all. I do believe in God. Don't forget that. That's the most important thing that keeps me going. So hang on to your children. Fight for them. Do not give up. And with that being said, we do have Tony the Tiger that came in after my hour. Cassandra, good to see you. I'm glad you're checking in at 9:14 in the morning. And she asked me, so I have a question. I know you were trying to ask me yesterday. So as I told you, there was an emergency hearing for the removal of my son. So I believe I was going to lose anyway because they're never going to listen to me. I told my lawyer to file an appeal. She said she's going to file a notice. She's going to leave it to the appellate court to file the appeal. Doesn't she have to do that? Yes, you have to file the appeal in the appellate court. Yes. The medical trafficking is what is happening in their place and 4 hours away from us. And he's been isolated for at least 3 days after. It's been isolation in the ER for the whole 8 days. I guess her son is now in emergency room, and I'm so sorry to hear that. Be 8 days. That is so bad, Tony the Tiger. Tony is one of my regulars. Her name is Cassandra. She has a half a dozen alts because people are trying to find her, but she's in Ostenago, New York, and she's a loving person. She cares. She's talked on the show, and I've really been trying to help her. And I know Vincent Davis will talk to her. Have you talked to Vincent Davis yet, Tony? Because I do have to go. So with that being said, I want to thank Christina Reynosa from Texas and Tony the Tiger from New York for being a part of my show. And I'll see y'all at 10 o'clock. Excuse me. I'll see y'all at 7 p.m. my time, Pacific Standard Time, or 10 o'clock East Coast time. 9 o'clock Central Time, and 8 o'clock Rocky Mountain Time. So don't forget, hang on to your children, keep fighting for them, and there'll be a brief message from my attorney, Vincent Davis, when I sign off. God bless you, and the medical trafficking is what's happening to my place as far as I know it is, Tony. I want to help you. God bless you.
A vivid picture is encrypted in your mind as the critics get in line like they're witnessing a crime. But then you notice there's a shiver in your spine from the feelings of discontentment and bitterness combined. Heartbroken when you listen to the judges, another kid's innocence corrupted. And if you go against it, it's destructive. Consider this predicament the toughest, but we believe in a system fit for justice. Child Protective Services only pretends to save it. The one solution for this is worthy of instant praises. 30 years of experience with relentless cases. Allow me to introduce them. This is Vincent Davis, defending you when they don't think a mother fits the role. Is it juvenile dependency or government control? Observe the pain in their eyes. It's time for us to realize we are the last